I thought he did a relatively good job with some of the draft picks that he's made recently. I understand that the move to sign LeVeon Bell may have appeared to be a bit desperate to keep his job. $52.5 million. Incentives could drive it up to $61 million, $25 million in guaranteed dollars. But Max and myself have had a conversation about Le'Veon Bell and Lewis as well. Le'Veon Bell being arguably the best running back in all of football, or certainly in the conversation. And he sat out last year, devoid of any wear and tear on his body. And then you look at the Jets, and the Jets are just, I mean, it's pathetic. It's pathetic. You got a situation where to give Le'Veon Bell the money that you gave him, the owner had to sign off on it. It wasn't just about Maccagnan. It was about Christopher Johnson's willingness to sign off on it as well. And you're going to decide to get rid of a GM. And who do you bring in? Adam Gase. With all due respect, what the hell has Adam Gase done? Who is he? The only thing we know about him is that he coached 3 years in Miami. He coached 3 years in Miami, made the playoffs his first year, missed the playoffs the last two, and had a press conference. And I'm not accusing him of being anything, but the way those eyes were looking, he looked high. Let's just call it what it is. He looked like something was wrong with him, okay? That's the Adam Gase we know. You're in New York City. You didn't do much in the AFC East in Miami, but nevertheless, he is now the face of the organization outside of Sam Darnold. And I just think it says to me, you know what, Le'Veon Bell is the one that's going to end up regretting it, because why be here? He should have stayed with Pittsburgh if this was the alternative.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is going to be Lev who ultimately regrets this move, or rather just this particular team, moving to this particular team, because he left one of the most stable franchises in the NFL. Whether you agree or disagree with how Pittsburgh is, moving on and, conducting business going forward as far as some of the players that they select, whether you like them or you don't, whether you like what they did in the draft or you don't. I mean, that's neither here nor there, but it's the stability and the oneness in terms of direction that they have there compared to what is going on in New York, which right now is just an absolute catastrophe. Look, there's one thing to get paid in the NFL. There's another thing to win football games and be happy and have your quality of life and the people who are surrounding you, all moving in the same direction and supporting you, and that you're at a place that you're wanted. And right now, I think there's just a lot of question as to how much Le'Veon actually is wanted, what the relationship between him and Adam Gase is going to be like. And quite honestly, what are the Jets going to look like 1, 2, 3 years down the road? Look, we've seen teams change entire football operations in a year's time, or at least the coaching staff in a year's time. We've seen that happen in the NFL. And who's to say that next year in 2020, the Jets aren't ripping this up and doing something different again? And that is something, I don't care how much money you're being paid, you don't want to get caught up in that kind of tornado. You just don't. And what is going on there right now, look, everything here just reeks to a lack of leadership, reeks for a lack of foresight, a lack of planning, and who knows what things are going to look like here going forward. And if I'm Le'Veon Bell right now, I'm really sitting there thinking, despite trying to put a positive spin on it on social media, I'm sitting there to myself thinking, what did I do? What have I gotten myself into?
And it's so messy, Max, that it even got out.
The team that Le'Veon Bell plays for is going to be happy because he's a very, very productive player. He's a problem out of the backfield, catching passes, obviously running the ball. He's patient. He does everything you want a running back to do. In fact, that's why until this next wave of running backs, and he didn't play last year, he was the best running back in football by some measure for several years in a row. Not that many players in the history of the game have been able to attain that level. He's one of them, and he's still excellent when last seen. He's their best receiver, and he's their best back, obviously, right? So you're not going to regret the production on the field. The wisdom of signing him in the first place is something else. I never understood the timing, guys. Sam Darnold was a bad quarterback last year. He was an amazing 21-year-old quarterback, but he wasn't actually a good NFL quarterback. If this year he can be a below-average NFL quarterback, but as a starter, as a 22-year-old, very few people have ever done that. He's not going to be, I don't think, an above-average starter for another couple of years. He's that young. He's that precocious. That's amazing that he can do what he's doing already. But the timing doesn't work out with Le'Veon Bell in this team, so you can question the wisdom of the signing. But Le'Veon's going to regret it more because he would have gotten some similar money from some other situation, not a dysfunctional clown show. I mean, what is it? It's one thing to be just a bad organization. He knows he's playing for a team that's not going to be good yet. He's going to help them, whatever. But you show up and you walk into this level of dysfunction. Why does Le'Veon Bell deserve that? No. The Jets, even if Gase thought he was overpaid, whatever, he's getting a great player. He's going to play like a great player, even if it doesn't make sense to spend the money for this team right now. But they're not going to regret LeVeon Bell. LeVeon Bell, I'm sure, is already regretting the Jets.
Well, see, for me, I just need somebody to explain to me, Lewis. I don't understand how Gase wins any kind of battle. What the hell has he done? He just got there. There's no practice. There's no game that's taking place. And all you got is the backdrop of his history in Miami. What did he do to win this battle? Makes no sense.
Yeah, that's a great question. And you know what happens is a lot of times when you have a structure that's set up to where the head coach individually reports to the owner, the GM individually reports to the owner, whenever there is some kind of disagreement or there is a butting of heads over the direction of the franchise or whether or not to sign a player or whether or not to pay a player you've decided to sign, whenever there's some kind of disagreement, what do you think happens in these kind of situations when you have highly, highly egotistical, prideful individuals? They go to ownership and they start talking about, and eventually it just comes out that, hey, you know what, I would rather do this, so-and-so would rather do that. And what happens is when you have an ownership group like the Jets have, one that quite honestly, when you just listen to them talk about how they arrive at the decisions they arrive at, really seem a little bit detached and not really like up to date on how I believe an NFL organization is supposed to run. They're just going to listen to whatever the last person said, and whoever has the best selling point, they're just going to go with it right now. I totally agree with you. Look, I don't want to be disrespectful to Adam Gase, but he has done nothing in the league right now to be pulling power moves on anybody. On anyone. I don't care if it's Mike Maccagnan. I don't care if it's Mickey Mouse. He has no right. He has not earned the right to do this kind of thing. But in this situation where it is like there's like a leadership vacuum in this organization from a football standpoint, he's benefiting from that kind of situation that ownership has created.